But, you know, even I added my 2 cents in here. Bro, you got cooked. All you did was glaze coal. I mean, let's see here. We got Clint Russell. I didn't even have to watch to know you got bodied. I'll confirm back in an hour. Damn. I'm a fan of yours, but I have to admit, you didn't do very well. Damn. Oh, Lord. Not one of your homes like, bro, look, man, I'm a fan of yours, but you didn't do very well at all. I mean, Elmo, this cut got owned by comic Dave Smith. Oof.
War in American history.
Saying the United States is a terrorist organization. You've already lost the debate.
When our politicians lie us into wars that slaughter millions of innocent people, I consider that terrorism. I'll run circles around you on this, dude. Check the scoreboard. Most unpopular war in American history going in. Check the scoreboard. 13 dead Americans, millions of innocent people being displaced.
You have the luxury of sitting in your little studio with your hooded sweater like you're 17 years old.
I have a wife and children. Who depends on you, Adam? Your mom?
Ooh. Okay. I also have a significant other. Saying the United States.
Oh, yeah, they might have cut that one. I didn't hear that. Let's see. I will never understand how someone can be so consistently wrong and bad at everything and will still go out in public every day to just do it again. Wild. Adam is the first guy I've seen on a podcast flexing another man's arguments, LOL. Like, bro, literally. And he thought he won. Oh, my God. You actually got annihilated, man. PBD Podcast should be very ashamed of having you on their team. Couldn't make a single valid point in a live debate. Oh, my God. Woo. That's tough. That's tough. I mean, bro, that's how a lot of people look who debate like Adam. It's like, bro, you don't make any good points and y'all just get cooked. Now I'm like, Adam, he put you in the coffin, bro, in the coffin. But all right, let's get to some war analysis here. Let's see what's going on.
Israel intercepting Iranian strikes overnight as the Islamic regime continues.
And this is where I'm confused. Guys, are we under a ceasefire or not? Or not? Because I'm just like, well, Iran's still firing. Israel's still firing. So where's this ceasefire at? Please.
It's a missile barrage on the region.
But President Trump says Iran might want to make a deal to end the fighting. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Ying's live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Trey.
Todd, Carly, good morning. As diplomatic efforts play out, the Iranians are continuing their attacks against Israel, launching a number of ballistic missile barrages against this country overnight. One of those missiles early this morning slammed into the heart of Tel Aviv. You can see here in this aftermath video, black smoke was rising from the horizon. We just returned from this scene where first responders were removing debris and rubble. This was a direct impact, according to police. And there was a 220-pound warhead on top of the missile that caused the damage that you see here. There were some interceptions overnight across central Israel as Israel's advanced air defense system worked to shoot down the incoming fire. The Israelis and the Americans are striking back, hitting the heart of the regime in Tehran and other locations, going after many of the storage facilities for these ballistic missiles. You can see in some of this video over the weekend that was released by U.S. Central Command. All of this coming as President Trump says those diplomatic efforts are playing out, and he's giving the Iranian regime 5 days to come to terms for a deal. Take a listen.
We're giving it 5 days, and then we're going to see where that takes us. And I would say at the end of this period.
Here's the thing, though. Like, they say 5 days, but I'm going to be real with you. You think Iran's going to want to, I mean, think about it. Our ally, Israel, greatest ally in the Middle East, apparently, is still striking Iran. Iran is still striking Israel. I mean, Iran is still striking places in the Middle East. So, or the Gulf states. So, where is this ceasefire at? Like, I'm really confused. Like, what you're saying that we stop firing, so we're considering that a ceasefire while they are? I mean, I guess that I guess that's okay, but I don't think they're gonna really come to an agreement if our ally is striking them. They might, though. They just might. Be honest with you, I'm hoping that they will. I'm hoping that they can get to a stricter version of the JCPOA and Trump can ride off into the win with that. Because I'm be real with you, if he comes to the table and gives Iran any one of his demands, he's going to be seen as weak. And of course, you know, negotiating with terrorists, which apparently we don't do, even though we've done it many times in the past before.
It could very well.
It's a phrase, guys. It's not something that we actually do.
for everybody, as good as if we went all the way and just literally
Or commit to
annihilated
it.
the place, which if we don't have to do that, that would be a good thing, not a bad thing.
The Iranians have pushed back, saying that talks aren't taking place, but reports indicate there are conversations happening. You can see some video here in Tehran, the aftermath of those U.S. and Israeli strikes that continue to pressure the Islamic regime. As this is continuing, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also speaking out about the possibility of a deal.
Earlier today, I spoke with our friend, President Trump. President Trump believes there is a possibility to leveraging the mighty achievements obtained by the Israeli Defense Forces and the U.S. military in order to realize the goals of the war in a deal that will preserve our vital interests.
It's clear that President Trump wants to give the Iranian regime yet another chance to come to the negotiating table and make serious concessions. If they don't, there are more U.S. forces on the way to the region and more options for the president. Todd Garley.
Trey Yanks live for us in Israel this morning. Trey, thank you. Let's bring in Power Us founder and former Army Special Ops Intel analyst Brett Velikovich. Brett, on the one hand, we have CENTCOM confirming more than 9,000 targets have been struck as a part of Operation Epic Fury. On the other hand, you have President Trump talking about this 5-day pause. Do you expect this pause to ultimately lead to a negotiated end to this conflict? And is Iran really looking for diplomacy?
And like I said, if it does come to, diplomacy, now is going to be a bit tough because now Trump got to find out a way to do diplomacy with Iran and make us look strong. And the only way I see that happening is if, like I said, to get under a stricter version of the JCPOA. But then this is where it could not turn so good for us, where if we give like Iran one of their demands and we don't get them under a stricter version of the JCPOA and they're able to nuclear enrich, the regime is still in power, a lot of us going to be looking like, well, what do we even do this for? But if we get to the table and we're able to, make sure they're not enriching uranium no more, at least, then we can see that as a win.
Well, I think the administration's been very clear. The objective is not endless war, it's decisive results. And so right now we're seeing this, not just this symbolic bombing campaign. This is the strategic dismantling of the enemy's entire ability to fight so that they can never toy with nuclear Armageddon again. So there's a lot more, obviously, that can also be done from the air to continue that leverage. Air campaigns like this, they don't just destroy targets. They're going to collapse entire systems. You're degrading logistics, command and control networks, communications, resupply chains. And I think what we're already seeing is that Iran's missile and drone output has dropped dramatically because of these strikes. And so continued air operations, they can go even deeper, in my opinion. We can target mobile launchers, leadership nodes, air defenses, stop Iran from regenerating their capability, and really keep tightening that pressure until they can no longer project force outside their borders and we can have lasting peace in that region.
Okay, so from air to potential boots on the ground, the Times is reporting senior military officials are weighing a possible deployment of a combat brigade from the Army's 82nd Airborne Division and some elements of the division's headquarters staff to support U.S. military operations in Iran. You hear that word support, support, support over and over again. But at the end of the day, do you expect boots on the ground as the inevitable next phase of this conflict if peace is not achieved?
Well, Todd, look, in reality, there are limits to what air power alone can achieve. You can destroy infrastructure, you can degrade capability, but there are certain objectives that require physical control. You can bomb a position all day long, but until you control it, your enemy always has the ability to come back. And I think air power gets us maybe 80 to 90% of the way there, but high impact ground operations, if used correctly, secure that final outcome and close the gap. And that's why you're seeing these discussions about airborne troops, marine elements, potentially moving into the region, not for occupation, but for precision missions. We have to seize key positions, eliminate remaining threats, and then lock down these strategic areas that Iran uses to threaten global shipping and U.S. forces. And I think right now that Iran is really trying to bet that the United States doesn't have the will to finish what it started. They're not confused. They're a bit calculating. And right now they're calculating that we're not going to hit back hard enough. And that's why real American leadership here matters. President Trump's been dealing with a situation that didn't develop overnight. It's the result of years of hesitation of our feckless leaders and strategic drift. And so,
nah, not really. Like I said, Obama getting them under the JCPOA, yeah, that kind of nipped this entire problem in the butt. Now, if you're, like I said, if you're complaining about their regime, or their ballistic missiles, then I mean, sure, like Obama didn't take care of that. But when it came to their having an eye on their nuclear enrichment, yeah, we was able to take care of that. So we can't, I mean, a president did solve it, except one president decided to rip it up and get out of it and put us right back on this path. And that was sadly Donald Trump.
What we're seeing right now is the United States reestablishing that clarity that the global economy can't be held hostage, that nuclear brinksmanship has consequences. And our military right now, frankly, is the only thing standing between stability and total disruption in that region.
Yeah, but our military was the reason why there is total instability and total disruption in that region. So, I mean, I hope we're able to clean up the mess that we caused. I'll be real with you. It is a bit wild to sit there, cause this mess, and be like, oh, guys, we can't clean it. We need help. Like, come on now. We're the ones who started it.
And so we need to do whatever it takes to ensure that total victory is secured.
Brett, you mentioned the calculus going on in Iran. Listen to this. The Wall Street Journal is out with a report this morning that Saudi Arabia and the UAE, you know, Iran's neighbors, are getting closer to actually joining the fight against Iran. In about 30.
They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. Because if they do, then, bro, their energy infrastructure will be destroyed. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Their people will be attacked and be put in danger. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, more than they already are right now. So, I mean, cool. If that's what they want to do, great. But I hope they know the consequences that come with that.
Seconds, how would that impact this?
And the thing is, they have every right to do so because Iran attacked them first. So, I mean, I'm not saying that they don't got the right to. I'm just saying that they better be able to take those consequences on the chin and not sit there and look at us like, oh, America, help us, help us. Like, you wanted to get involved. You should have just sat your asses on the side.
Conflict going forward.
Well, I think our neighbors are tired of it. If anything that these strikes have done has brought our allies closer and closer. Groups that normally would remain neutral are tired of taking Shahed strikes every single night and seeing their tourist centers bombed. Iran's terror empire, in my opinion, is on borrowed time. The mullahs, they've been misfiring. They've tried to sow chaos in the region. Their spokesmen are being silenced forever, and America and its allies are about to end this once.
I mean, the Iranian foreign minister is still talking. I mean, they got that one guy in Pierce that's still talking. The regime is still in power. The mullahs, yeah, they're still in power, by the way. And this is why it's hard to watch Fox News, because it's like, they're completely over exaggerating on the success that's going on. Like, I'm not saying there's no success at all, but when you sit there, you say, oh, well, the regime and the mullahs are gone, or they've been toppled. No, they haven't. No, they haven't. Or their will still wouldn't be being carried out by striking Iran. I mean, not striking Iran, but striking Israel and the Gulf states. So no, that hasn't. So it's like I'm gonna be real with you. They over embellish of the success of the United States military, and we have success. But the way they make it seem as if, oh, well, Iran shouldn't be striking back. They shouldn't be able to close the Strait of Hormuz, but they are. So I'm sorry, but you can't sit here and say we've having this overwhelming success while they're closing the Strait of Hormuz and they're still firing upon our allies.
And for all.
And now the question becomes, not only who are you negotiating with, but how many different groups are you negotiating with? You've got the secular, you've got the religious factions. Really, the common person like you and I doesn't really know who's in charge. Hopefully, the White House is negotiating with somebody who can actually end this. But to your point, Brett, we will see. Brett Velikovich, it's always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now.
All right, though, let's get over to the next one real quick here, because this happened 3 hours ago. Iran attacks escalates across the Gulf states after deadly strike in Bahrain. Let's get right into it, because like I said, apparently this is supposed to be a ceasefire, but people are still firing.
Has been killed, but...
Well, Iran has carried out more attacks across the Gulf region. A military contractor working for the United Arab Emirates has been killed in an Iranian attack in Bahrain. Let's bring in Russell Serda in the Saudi capital of Riyadh. And Russell, I think several more were injured in this incident too. Tell us more.
Indeed. So first, we have received a statement that was released by the Bahraini Armed Forces and confirming that a service member has been killed. But minutes after that, so the United Arab Emirates Armed Forces and Minister of Defense, they have released another statement saying that the person that was killed was indeed a civilian contractor of Moroccan national working for the United Arab Emirates Armed Forces, was killed in an attack, a missile attack from Iran. And also they're confirming that 5 more members of the United Arab Emirates Defense Forces also were injured, that injured people have been evacuated and they are taken to the hospital. So this is a new escalation, of course, because we're seeing for the first time that many of the figures that are members of the armed forces of the United Arab Emirates are injured and one civilian contractor killed. So that is definitely going to have further complicate the ongoing conflict and also putting a huge strain over the relations of Iran with its Arab Gulf states nations in the region. And while all that is happening, there also have been at least 5 missiles attacks on UAE and 17 drones. And the same case goes with Bahrain. So Bahrain saying that through the day they have intercepted Iranian drones, and there has been a fire broke out at one of the companies as a result of the Iranian attacks. So Emiratis are saying that so far nearly 400 ballistic missiles and nearly 2,000 drones were fired over their airspace, and Bahrain is saying 153 missiles. So these are huge numbers considering the size of these countries. Here in Saudi Arabia, since the morning on, we have seen waves of the Iranian drones, particularly targeting the eastern province of the country. And that is important because eastern province is where the 70% of Saudi Arabia's energy resources are located, and also major energy facilities are also there. But Saudi Arabia has an advantage that many of the other Arab Gulf states do not have. Saudi Arabia can bypass the Strait of Hormuz by transporting that oil from the eastern coast to the west, to the city of Yanbu, which is a port city, an industrial hub for Saudi Arabia. And 30% of Saudi Arabia's oil goes to the global market through the city of Yanbu. 40 years ago, they have built a pipeline carrying the oil from the eastern part of the country to the west. And now the officials here are saying that before the war, the capacity was roughly around 2 million barrels of oil per day, but that now that they have increased it, is roughly around 3 million, and there are plans to soon increase that to 4 million barrels of oil per day. However, having said that, Iran is also targeting the city of Yanbu as well in the recent days, and that is putting a huge pressure between the fragile relations between Riyadh and Tehran.
Indeed. All right, we'll leave it there for now. That's a picture from Riyadh. Russell Serda reporting.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get over to the next video on Fox News. On high alert, Iran's military capabilities beyond Middle East raise concerns. And like I said, due to the range of one of the rockets that went about what? They said like 4,000 kilometers. Yeah. Due to that, we're kind of on high alert. But like I said, it also does show that, well, what? Iran was giving us restraint while having the capability to strike all these targets. I mean, man, are they these radical jihadists that y'all make them out to be, or are they just our military opponent who's just retaliating to our aggression? I mean, what is it at this point?
Welcome back to Special Report. Let's take a closer look at the threat Iran's military poses to countries in the region and beyond. Since the conflict began, the regime in Tehran has launched repeated retaliatory strikes. This map shows the U.S.-Israeli strikes in Iran, these yellow dots here, and then the retaliatory Iranian action against the Gulf countries of Oman, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. These are the red squares. Now, energy infrastructure is in the crosshairs, with Iran targeting key Gulf sites, such as this attack on an oil refinery in Kuwait last week. And there are rising concerns about Iran's military capabilities outside of the Middle East. Now, Friday, Iran fired 2 missiles at the island of Diego Garcia down here, a joint U.S. military and British military base in the Indian Ocean. It lies about 2,500 miles away from Iranian territory. Neither missile hit. The attack was Iran's first operational use of intermediate range ballistic missiles. The ability to fire them could threaten European cities, such as Paris.
Yeah, I think they're like 1,000 miles away from an intercontinental ballistic missile at that point. Like 1,000 miles away.
Or London. Just over 2 weeks ago, Iran's foreign minister claimed his country had intentionally limited the range of its missiles below that distance.
We have capability to produce missiles, but we have intentionally limited ourselves to below 2,000 kilometers of range because we don't want to be felt as a threat by anybody else in the world.
Now, one of President Trump's stated goals of Operation Epic Fury.
And here's the thing, though, like, you know, we wouldn't have to worry about any of this if we didn't attack Iran. They wouldn't have to worry about how far the missiles hit, if they had nuclear, if they were willing to go towards a bomb, if we didn't attack them and we practiced diplomacy, we wouldn't be in this situation. I hope you guys know this. But also, hold on, actually, let me make sure I have his point down all the way.
Range, because we don't want to be felt as a threat by anybody else in the world.
Oh, yeah. Also, you know, these guys make missiles underground. So there's two things that could happen. They either had these missiles, which is most likely the situation, or they started rushing to build these missiles after the strikes on Iran. Because that's what seems to Iran always does. The more we escalate, the more we show aggression, is the closer they get to, well, higher range missiles and a nuclear weapon. Like every time we show them aggression. I mean, you would kind of think we choose a different route, since the more we aggress towards them, that's like, I'm gonna be real with you. The more we aggress towards them, the more we push them towards the things that we don't want them to have, that we don't want them to do. But it seems like, and when we had them under diplomacy, or we were using diplomacy with Obama, we kind of steered them away from what we didn't want them to do. But I mean, nobody's really trying to admit that or see that.
Now, one of President Trump's stated goals of Operation Epic Fury is to destroy Iran's ballistic missile arsenal and production capability. As the president's Friday deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz approaches, thousands of U.S. Marines are expected to arrive in the Middle East that same day. You can see all of the U.S. assets, military assets, already in the region. As we reported earlier, the commander of the 82nd Airborne Division has been ordered to deploy to the Middle East for possible land operations. And there is speculation.
Whoa. And you know what's so crazy? Like, this is what kills me, right? Because like I said, I was getting into it with Monty last night, and he was like, did you just say there were going to be boots on the ground? I said, like, no, I didn't say that. I said, we want to effectuate regime change. We're going to need boots on the ground. Also, I should have added, oh yeah, if we also want to take care of their nuclear capabilities and secure their nuclear stockpile, we're going to need boots on the ground. So even to contain their nuclear capabilities, we still might have to put boots on the ground. For regime change, most certainly. But to get handles on their nuclear capabilities, yeah, we're going to need to go ahead and put boots on the ground if we want to secure those, unless you want to just blow them up and cause a nuclear fallout. But if we're not, then we're going to have to secure that. And then it's kind of funny when we see stuff like this on Fox News, but then, you know, MAGA will sit here to our face. I'm sorry, guys, I got to call you out on this. We'll sit here into our face, talk about there's no troops coming in. What you mean? What you talk about? There's no troops. You're being a panicking, while also hearing this at the same time.
Assets, military assets already in the region. As we reported earlier, the commander of the 82nd Airborne Division has been ordered to deploy to the Middle East for possible land operations. And there is
possible. Don't mean they're happening. And I'm not saying that they're happening. I'm just saying that, yo, it's kind of funny how our own military is literally telling us that we might be putting troops on the ground, but I'm called a panicking for pretty much suggesting that we might do so when our own government is telling us to our face. Okay, guys. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like, please call Media on American One for this, calling out what I'm seeing.
Speculation that the U.S. could or would use ground forces for missions inside Iran, or possibly to take Karg Island right here. Now, Karg Island is a 5-mile strip of land in the Persian Gulf. It holds Iran's most important oil facility, an export terminal that handles 90% of the country's crude. As Iran continues to export oil and fund its military, the Trump administration is reportedly considering an operation to seize that island. Such a move would carry risks for American forces. If they had to travel through the Strait of Hormuz, they would well be within range of Iranian missiles and drones. Another point of contention in the strait is Abu Musa, and the Greater Tomb and Lesser Tomb. These are islands, the islands controlled by Iran, but claimed by the UAE, the Emirates. They've long been a source of dispute between the two countries. They straddle, as you can see here, the mouth of the Strait of Hormuz, offering significant strategic value near the world's most critical energy choke point.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox.
All right, here, let's go ahead and get into the next video here. Iran, no opportunity for U.S. talks. Suspect Trump's ruse. Yeah, they're saying it's a ruse for a ground invasion. And you know what? I mean, it is kind of wild how we just watched Fox News pretty much say, yeah, while this 5-day ceasefire is going on, just want to let you know that the 82nd Airborne is bringing in ground troops. Just want to let y'all know that, though. And then when we call that out, well, what? We're being panicans. Like at a certain point, bro, there's so much cope going on in MAGA. I just don't know what to say. And I never thought it'd be us, but it is. Like, the cope is insane.
More on this, let's explore it further. Joining us from Tehran is Elam Kakodai, who's an assistant professor at the University of Tehran. And also joining us here in the studio is Ross Harrison, who's a senior fellow at the Middle East Institute in Washington, D.C. But everybody knows who you are by now. And author of that famous book, Decoding Iran's Foreign Policy. Ross, I'll come to you in a second. But Elam, if I could start with you. It seems pretty evident that there have not been any negotiations. It's more a passing of messages that's been going on through third parties. But do you think now the Iranians see this opportunity as a possibility to try and find a resolution?
Absolutely not. I think that in Iran, no one sees this even as a kind of an opportunity. I think that's not even the word that people in Iran, whether it's the politicians, the military, the people on the streets, they do not use that word to describe it. There's a completely negative kind of attitude to any form of speaking with the Americans, and that's very natural given the result that this had, 2 rounds of talking with the Americans during this administration, never mind the previous ones that we had these negotiations. And ultimately,
wait, hold on, you're a professor. Yeah, I mean, guys, women in Iran don't get an education. Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. Assistant professor at the University of Tehran. I know, right? People don't even understand that a lot of women, they choose to do this. They choose to follow their religion to such a strict code. So when you guys sit there and say that, oh, the Iranian women, need to be liberated, you're the ones that's pretty much saying that they can't choose how to live their life, and you want to invoke your liberal standard of life onto them when they want a more conservative one. And if anybody don't respect the way people live, I would say probably it's the American women in our country who don't respect the way other women live around the world. Crazy, I know, right?
Result that this had, 2 rounds of talking with the Americans during this administration, never mind the previous ones that we had these negotiations, and ultimately they didn't result in anything positive for the Iranians. So this time around, I think people have learned their lessons, and they know that talking with the Americans is not going to bring anything positive for us.
So Adam, just to clarify that, you do not think any negotiations will take place when they're talking about having talks in Pakistan, aren't they?
Yeah, are they?
At this stage, no, absolutely not.
Oh. So Ross, what's your reading of what Elam has just said and what Donald Trump was saying yesterday, and the cloud of mystery over what he was saying without any backing, it seems?
Yeah, and the reason there's a cloud of mystery that for some reason MAGA don't want to address, because it's like, so y'all don't see how weird this sounds. He's talking about 5-day ceasefire. We're talking to Iran. And remember, he said all this and we're like, oh yeah, hell yeah. But then Iran comes out and says, no, we're not talking with you. We're still continuing our strikes in Israel in the Gulf region. And now that got us looking at Trump like, yo, Trump, then what are you talking about? And then he comes down there to clarify, like, oh, no, we're actually talking to somebody outside of the regime. And, we don't want to talk because we don't want to talk about it with them. We don't want them to get killed. And it's just like, then, bro, you're not really talking to nobody in Iran. You're not really making no real progress if you're not talking to this regime, because they're the ones whose will is being acted out upon right now. So what's going on here? Like, what's it's really confusing when you're telling us, oh, there's talks going along, but the Iranian foreign minister and media in Iran is saying there's no talks going on. So that's big confusion. 2, you're saying there's a 5-day ceasefire, but Iran is still shooting, Israel's still shooting, and Gulf states are still being hit. So what are you talking about? And I think that any reasonable person should be able to make this conclusion like, yo, this is confusing. And honestly, we don't know what's really going on when it comes to talks with Iran. Because we just can't take the president's word for it, because the Iranian foreign minister is even saying, and people in Iran are saying that, yo, there's no talks going on.
Yeah, Nick, I mean, it's hard to know at this point. I mean, there have been talks about two figures that would meet together. That would be the head of the Majlis, or the parliament, Speaker of the Parliament, Ghalibaf, and J.D. Vance. I mean, I certainly echo the comment that there's very little trust. Now, talks do not require trust, because at this stage, each of the parties need to trust their position, their deterrence, or their capability more than the other. But at some point, they're going to have to move to some kind of conversation. But my hunch is that it's going to start more back channel first with mediation before there would be any kind of substantive talks between the two parties, given the history of attacks just following talks.
And that's the thing, isn't it, Elam? At some point, there does have to be a negotiation. It just can't carry on in this way, can it?
Well,
AKA, yeah, we can't just keep talking to Iran and then we go strike them, because that's been the pattern. And no, they don't strike us. No, we strike them. And they're the ones who try to come to us, be diplomatic, and then for some reason, we think it's okay to just bomb them while negotiating. And negotiations don't fall through or nothing. We just bomb them. That's it. That's all. So like it is pretty hard to see Iran wanting to talk to us when twice already they tried to talk to us and we bombed them every time while negotiations were still going on. So why would they want to talk to us now? I mean, and like, let's be real, like, what is talking to us going to get these bombs to start falling on them? No, because Israel's still attacking them. So really, what is the goal? Why would they do it?
I think the point here is that,
please don't tell us, oh, well, they're just getting beat up, Set. No, that's not the reason. That's a very very simple-minded way of thinking about it, because they're still closing the Strait of Hormuz. They're still making money off that as well, and they're still carrying out attacks against Israel. So if they're getting beat bad down so much, then why not just stop everything that they're doing that we don't like?
that Iran has realized that imposing reality on the ground is more beneficial for us rather than talking to reach some form of deal or agreement or whatever, because that will not have any form of guarantees. As I said, we have this experience with the JCPOA, which is a formally signed and agreed upon deal between different sides, not just Iran and the US, also the Europeans. So we have experienced many different forms of talking with the Americans. And I think what's happening right now is that practically some of the sanctions that were imposed on Iran's oil practically are being removed because of the military maneuvers that Iran has had in the Strait of Hormuz. So I think right now Iranians are much more focused on the outcome of the military operations that we're going to have.
Okay, and that's what you mean. Sorry to jump in, Ellen. Is that what you mean by imposing the reality on the ground?
Yes, of course, that could be part of it. That could be part of it. Demonstrating your power and your will to use it, rather than just, talking about, we don't want to start a war, because that was Iran's approach during all this time. Even during the 12-day war, Iran was very much restrained in its response to the aggression on our country. But this time, I think the red lines have changed a lot.
This proves that Iran showed some restraint when it came to the 12-day war, when they just they let us know that they was going to send a missile towards our Qatari base. And it just goes to show, because one, they didn't have to warn us. They have the technology to go out there and blow that base up. I mean, they showed us that they could do it with just drones, not even missiles, just drones they could have did that with. So it does show that, yeah, Iran showed some restraint after that 12-day war. And it's not because they couldn't hit us back. It's because they didn't want to drag this out into regional war.
And Iran is realizing that, this is something practically, this is translating to more, more guaranteed ways of ensuring our security. I just wanted to add this, that in Iran, many people are speculating that all this talk of negotiations itself might be a kind of an introduction for the Americans to somehow, start a kind of a ground invasion and, try to, confuse the Iranians and then start a kind of
let's put that to Ross.
Invasion somehow.
Let's put that to Ross, because we were talking about this yesterday, weren't we? That another option is the fact that Trump is just buying time And all that time, the troops get nearer and nearer. We've got, 2,500 coming from Japan. They're very close now.
Right.
Another.
Stefan, please tell me what I don't know, because you didn't even say anything. You just said I don't know about geopolitics, but you haven't even said, all right, well, this is why you don't know about this is why you're clueless about geopolitics. Please explain, because I ain't said nothing that was wrong, and you haven't stated anything I said to be wrong. So please be a little bit more specific when you want to criticize people, or else you just look like a dumbass.
Group have left California, I think, and they're some weeks away, but nonetheless, they're coming.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't discount the possibility that this could be some kind of a route.
Bro probably watch Fox News and think he knows geopolitics.
Who's in preparation, buying some time for a ground piece here. It's not clear what kind of effect that ground invasion or ground game would create. But I do think one of the questions that I think the Iranians are probably have to struggle with is, at what point have they made their point? If in fact, one of the things that I think has been said, I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, is that Iran has two basic objectives coming out of this war. One is the regime survives. That's the objective, number one. Number two, they've recreated deterrence. So I think there is a risk of Iran overplaying its hand. So at some point, the question is, have they made their point yet? If it's not just about punishment, it's about actually inflicting enough pain that brings the United States to the negotiating table, then I think there's going to have to be some movement on the Iranian side as well. However, I think if there's a concern that this is not a real negotiation, this is just buying time again, and unfortunately that is
while these supposed negotiations are going down, we got Iran saying there is no talks, and we got the 82nd Airborne going over to the Middle East to possibly deploy ground troops, possibly.
History of the United States and Iran over the last year or so, then the Iranian position is going to be just to hold tight. So I think if, in fact, there is some kind of clear picture towards a diplomatic track, the Iranians are going to have to decide at what point have they made their point, and do they at least realize they have to go down the escalation ladder?
Okay, Ross. Well, let's put that to Elam. So at what point have the Iranians made their point? And indeed, that risk of overplaying their hand, because there is great potential for that, isn't there? In many ways, you could look at this and say that Iran have quite a strong hand at this moment in time.
Yeah, thought so.
Yeah. Well, we are not the ones who are, losing our stockpile of missile interceptors. So I think militarily, Iran still feels that it has the strength and it has the weaponry to keep the fight going on for a long time. On the other hand, I think that the idea that we have so many military bases in the region that they make attacking Iran not just like in a situation like this when we have complete warfare, but also other situations when, the Israelis, the Americans, they just decide that they can come and assassinate certain people and then go back. And then there's going to be no repercussion. I think that's something that the Iranians feel, that even if we have a kind of a ceasefire or deal or something like that, this is going to happen again. So making sure that these bases, these military bases that America has all around us in this region, for either the countries that are hosting them come to this conclusion that they do not want to continue this cooperation with the Americans, or even technically these bases are not able to provide the logistics for the American military to carry out these attacks. I think these are, well, this might be a kind of a very broad description. Militarily, I think maybe military experts have to explain what exactly that means to, in what situation can we say that this has been reached. But I think the whole idea here is that we are not going to go back. Iranians are not going to go back to the situation in which, you wake up one day and then you see that your country has been attacked, either, as I said, like a kind of a complete warfare like what we are in right now, or even when you have certain scientists or military officials or politicians assassinated in cold blood, whilst you are not in a situation of war. So I think, and also we have the issue of the sanctions as well. That's also something that's very important to the Iranians.
Okay, understood. We just need to move it on a little bit. So if Elam's point of view is reflected in that of the leadership, we're at a very dangerous juncture, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, listen, all sides put out a certain amount of bravado, a certain amount of, and I think on the Iranian side, obviously there's some anger, right? Because they've been attacked. And we don't know really what kind of decision-making structure is taking place in Iran. I think up to this point, the behavior they've had has been pattern behavior. But at some point, I mean, the concern I would have for if from the Iranian perspective is if the Saudis and the Emiratis join the fight, then you have a completely different playbook occurring, and could change the situation on the ground for the Iranians. So I think at some point they know they can't win militarily. They're going to have to make a point about this reestablishing the deterrence, and there has to be some kind of diplomatic. They cannot, and getting U.S. bases out of the region, highly unlikely. In fact, I would say at this point that's off the table.
All right, well, so much more to discuss, but we run out of time, so have to leave it there for the moment. Elam, Kadei, and Ross here in the studio. Thanks very much, Ross Harrison. Thank you.
And all right, guys, let's go ahead and get out of geopolitics for a little bit. And actually, we're still about to head into geopolitics, but shout out to this Piers Morgan panel. You know what? Should I save this for the next stream? Yeah, I'll save it for the next stream. F it. I'll save it for the next one. Let's go keep on with the war stuff. Let's see here.
United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia are edging closer to joining in the war against Iran as both continue to grapple with repeated missile and drone attacks inside their countries. Matt Finn is tracking the latest regional developments. He's live for us in Dubai. Matt?
Hey, John, not long ago, India's prime minister said that he had a productive phone call with our president, received a phone call from President Trump and had a useful exchange of views on the situation in West Asia. India supports de-escalation and restoration of peace at the earliest. Ensuring that the Strait of Hormuz remains open, secure, and accessible is essential for the whole world. We agreed to stay in touch regarding efforts towards peace and stability. Now, President Trump has been saying that the U.S. and Iran are communicating on ceasefire deals, claiming Iran is coming close to striking a deal.
They want peace. They've agreed they will not have a nuclear weapon, et cetera, et cetera.
Which is hilarious as hell because they've been agreed that they would never have a nuclear weapon since 2004. So, I mean, if that was the goal, I'm gonna be real with you. If that was the goal, then we got into this for no reason over something that they've already agreed to never do.
But we'll see. You have to get it done. But I would say there's a very good chance.
Now, yesterday, Iran initially denied that it's holding talks with the U.S., but now Iran's foreign minister has held separate calls with his counterparts in Egypt, Oman, Pakistan, and Turkey. And those are the same countries reportedly attempting mediation with the U.S. and Iran to end the war. So it seems like there may be some back-channel discussions going on. And the latest...
AKA what he's saying is that, well, we got other foreign ministers trying to get a hold of this guy going like, bro, look, bro, we need to get this war ended. We need you to get to the table with the United States. And apparently the Iranian foreign minister is pretty much just telling us, no. Like, why would we go to the table with people who we've came to the table twice and attacked us after? I mean, bro, if he was hitting me with that, I wouldn't even know what to tell him.
Update from the United Arab Emirates here, announcing the UAE Ministry of Defense mourns a civilian contractor, a Moroccan national, who was martyred while performing his duties during a routine mission in the Kingdom of Bahrain following an Iranian missile attack. The attack also resulted in the injury of 5 members of UAE Ministry of Defense. The ministry extends its deepest condolences to the family of the martyr, praying that God grants him mercy and wishes a speedy recovery to the injured. And also the top diplomat from the UAE, indicating that this country may jump in on the war against Iran, or at least continue to back the United States, saying that it will, quote, never be blackmailed by terrorists, in reference to Iran. John, Sandra.
Well, Iran's certainly not winning any hearts and minds in the Gulf states. Matt Finn for us in Dubai. Matt, thank you. Sandra?
Okay, let's bring in Brent Sadler now, Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow, retired Navy captain, and former Pentagon official. Brent, welcome to you. This obviously would be a big change in the scope of the war as we have seen it. What say you at this point?
Well, I mean, the potential entry of Saudi Arabia and UAE into direct conflict with Iran, I mean, they've been under blistering attacks for the better part of the last week and a half or so. And so the longer that Iran remains obstinate and resisting, ending this war, the more likely that these neighbors that are getting attacked join it. Whether or not that moves the needle to quickening the end of this war, that'll be to be seen, quite frankly.
General Keane weighed in earlier on what makes him skeptical about these talks. Listen.
I'm highly skeptical. Why? Because this is a regime for 47 years. They are pathological liars and they're cheaters. And it's very difficult to take them at their word. I'm not saying don't try, but I
mean, bro, what does that say about us? Like, hold on. Like, we're calling them pathological liars and cheaters when they trust us to negotiate in good faith, and we didn't do that. We were holding talks with them twice, and we bombed them twice. And let's be real, if these guys are these most terrible people that you make them out to be, then why didn't they take their intermediate range missile and start striking bases that are outside of the range we thought they were in? And remember, y'all went off the fear mongering that if they had the capability, they would do it. Well, my man, like I said, they had the capability and they didn't do it.
I think the president certainly and his negotiators know who these people are.
And the president has given us some sort of indication that the people with whom they are talking are, quote unquote, reasonable. So do you have faith in these talks?
Well, I would side with General Keane on this one. This is not the time to relent at all on the military front. If anything, it's to apply more pressure to ensure that the Iranians are serious about ending their nuclear program, ending the murder of their people on the streets. The key thing, though, is probably good to reflect back on why we are where we are today with this regime. After 47 years, the nature of it's one that they can't live with their neighbors in peace, and certainly not with Israel. That's got to change. And they also have been a threat to American citizens. Well, over 1,000 of American souls have been passed because of this regime's terroristic attacks. And we need to find a place where a new regime is in Tehran that can meet that peaceful